throughout. He was the first person to call me when my dad got sick.
Wow.
When I had postpartum, he sent me flowers and, all of these things, even though we sort of hadn't had our regular dinners that we used to have on a more regular basis. But he was consistent to the end. And when it came time to his memorial, I had been really out of the public eye with him for a decade at least. And it was his mom who called me and said, I want you to speak.
If there was one person Michael Jackson truly confided in, it was Brooke Shields. He opened up to her not just about his childhood and the pressures of fame, but also about the darker, more sinister side of the entertainment industry. He shared how he was fighting relentlessly to gain control of his music catalogs, how he had reclaimed power in ways that didn't sit well with the music business. Behind closed doors, he admitted he feared for his life.
It's been, the record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists. Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
And here's where Diddy comes in. For years now, artists who came up under Diddy have spoken out, saying they never saw the money they were promised, that their careers were stalled, and that the contracts they signed didn't benefit them. With all the recent headlines surrounding Diddy, people are starting to take a closer look at things Michael Jackson said while he was still alive. Given Diddy's close ties to the industry elites who have historically oppressed artists, it's fair to wonder, was he aware of what went on behind the scenes? And more importantly, did Michael Jackson find out anything about him? Could he have told Brooke Shields about what he discovered? That's what the streets are saying. So let's get into it. Now, before we go any further, I know some of you might be thinking, how can we trust Michael Jackson, considering the allegations against him? Some have pointed out the similarities between those allegations and the ones being made about Diddy today. It's also true that Michael Jackson's name came up in the Epstein saga, specifically during the testimony of Joanna Sjoberg, who accused British royal Prince Andrew of misconduct. When asked if she had met anyone famous at Epstein's Palm Beach home, she mentioned Michael Jackson. To be clear, Jackson was never found guilty of any crime, and there are many who believe the accusations were part of a broader effort to destroy his legacy. If the allegations against him weren't true, it only strengthens the argument that he was a target, possibly because of what he knew. But if they were true, then he may have had far more insight into Diddy and his circle than we ever realized. Back to Brooke Shields. She met Michael when she was just 13, and the two formed a quick and deep friendship. They bonded over the unique pressures of being child stars and the overwhelming responsibilities they carried from a young age. Brooke once said their connection was special, that even though both of them had to grow up fast, when they were together, they were just like two kids having fun.
Because we both grew up in the same business, and we had similar upbringings in the sense that we were, we had to begin in this business at a very young age. We learned a sense of, we had defense mechanisms that we'd built up. We realized that we didn't really have to be wary of one another, and that enabled us to build a friendship on a very different level.
But while Brooke Shields publicly said that she and Michael were just friends, Michael himself often claimed they were romantically involved. Y'all might remember the 1993 Oprah Winfrey interview at his Neverland Ranch, one of the most watched interviews in television history. In that interview, Michael said he was dating Brooke. Now, this interview was supposed to address the rumors that had been swirling around Michael since the mid-1980s. People had speculated about all kinds of things, that he wanted to be white, that he wanted to become a woman, that he bought the Elephant Man's remains, that he slept in an oxygen chamber, that he suffered from an eating disorder, that his best friend was a monkey, which some even claimed was telepathic, that he was secretly gay, and that he was a virgin. Wild stuff. The goal was to clear the air and help improve Michael's public image by allowing him to address these rumors directly. But instead of boosting his reputation, the interview took a sharp turn when Oprah began asking some very invasive and uncomfortable questions, and even challenged many of his answers. First, she questioned Michael about his appearance, asking if he had undergone plastic surgery. Michael admitted to having a nose job, but insisted he hadn't had any other procedures. He also revealed he had vitiligo, a skin condition that causes loss of pigmentation. But Oprah seemed skeptical of his explanation and kept pressing, often interrupting him as if she didn't want him to fully explain himself. It felt like she was trying to catch him in a lie rather than giving him space to tell his truth. Then, out of nowhere, Oprah implied that he was hiding something and made him visibly uncomfortable. As if that wasn't enough, she shifted to his relationships with children, questioning why he spent so much time with them, another very sensitive topic. Finally, she asked about his romantic life and straight up questioned whether he was a virgin. Michael responded by saying he was dating Brooke Shields, but he declined to answer the virginity question, calling it a personal matter and explaining that he was old-fashioned.
Do you date?
Yes.
Who do you date?
Well, right now it's Brooke Shields. Well, we try not to just be everywhere and go. It's mostly at home. She'll come over. I'll go to her house because I don't like going out in the public.
Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
With Brooke Shields?
Yes, and another girl.
And another girl?
As far as Brooke Shields was concerned, the romance with Michael Jackson was completely one-sided. She described moments where they'd make plans to go out for dinner, and somehow the paparazzi would already be waiting. That led her to believe Michael was tipping them off so they could be photographed together. Right after the Oprah interview aired, Brooke reportedly called Michael to scold him for saying they were dating. From her perspective, they were just friends. In an interview with the Sunday Times magazine, Brooke said, "I called him up and I think I said, 'This is kind of pathetic that you need to do this. I'm having a shot at a normal life. You cannot drag me into crazy town.'" When asked in that same interview if they ever kissed, she replied, "No." She recalled one moment when they were in a car surrounded by cameras, and Michael suddenly tried to kiss her. She said, "No, stop, we are just friends. You need me as a friend." She went on to say she remembered the early days when other actresses were chasing after him and how he was kind of cute before his drastic transformation. But romantically, it never crossed her mind. Still, despite her firm stance that they never dated, Brooke once told Oprah that they both definitely had a crush on each other at one point.
You have a crush on him, or did he have a crush on you?
I think we both had a crush, and still do have a crush on each other. I mean, I think part of having a crush on someone is admiring them. Almost, I mean, we have a lot of fun together. And I mean, it's almost unfortunate because we know each other so well. But, I mean, he amazes me every time I sit down and talk to him about something
Does
real
he
important.
does he feel more like a brother to you, though, than, say, a boyfriend?
And when Oprah tried to dig deeper, Brooke avoided giving any specific details. She danced around the question, saying that their love was on a different level, something deeper and more emotional. She even said she felt closer to Michael than she did to some of her actual boyfriends. But whenever she tried to explain that bond to others, it was often misunderstood or misinterpreted.
And he gave me the most incredibly beautiful ring that you can ever imagine. And of course, then people built that out of proportion, and they said we were engaged, and it wasn't about that. It was a friendship ring that when he gave it to me, it was the most adorable thing. We hadn't really ever exchanged gifts before.
Regardless of what their romantic relationship may or may not have been, one thing is clear: Michael Jackson and Brooke Shields were very close. It's been reported that Michael confided in Brooke about feeling that his life was in danger, largely because of the battle he was fighting to gain full control over his music rights. He often told her that in the music industry, once a black artist starts to own too much, especially their own catalog, they're no longer seen as just a performer. They become a threat. Michael believed he was being targeted. And when you look at how he was increasingly portrayed in the media, isolated, strange, and eventually how he died under questionable medical care, it really makes you wonder. The whole situation echoes the way Diddy has been accused of treating his artists. Because let's be honest, Diddy isn't the first powerful music mogul to be accused of silencing, manipulating, or exploiting the very artists who helped build his empire. When you zoom out, a pattern starts to emerge. Think about Prince. Think about Michael Jackson. Artists who pushed for ownership, independence, and control, only to face backlash and mysterious circumstances. Now let's look at Diddy and his business ties. He had a joint venture deal with Warner Music Group, which gave Warner a 50% stake in Bad Boy Records. Under that deal, Warner handled the global distribution, both digital and physical, of Bad Boy's catalog. That catalog included artists like Madollar, Mario Winans, Notorious Big, and of course, Diddy himself. Speaking about the deal, Diddy once said, "There have been a lot of boutique record labels that come and go, and we're still here." This has ensured that we have the right financial backing, the right structure, and the right partners to remain a force in the music industry. So yeah, Diddy was very much in bed with powerful industry players. And from what I've heard, Michael Jackson had a serious problem with that kind of relationship. He supposedly shared those concerns with Brooke. Unfortunately, some believe that Michael's outspokenness and his desire for true creative and financial freedom may have cost him his life. Even members of Michael's family have said as much. His sister LaToya Jackson has publicly claimed that something about his death never felt right to her. She believes Conrad Murray, the doctor convicted in Michael's death, was just a fall guy. LaToya said Michael had told her he feared for his life and believed people were after him specifically because they wanted to take control of his valuable music catalogs.
I am an innocent man. I therefore plead not guilty.
I truly feel that Conrad Murray is simply the fall guy. This was definitely something that was premeditated, that they had planned to do, and they planned to take my brother out, and my brother knew it, and that's why he told me repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly that this was going to happen to him. He explained it to me. He explained it's because of my catalog, which is my publishing, and they're after it, and they want it, and they want their hands on it, and they want to take it away from me. So Michael developed this love-hate relationship.
Allegedly, in the spirit of calling out everyone who may have had a hand, directly or indirectly, in the death of Michael Jackson, Brooke Shields has reportedly been speaking out. Word is, she's been saying that Michael was never a fan of Diddy. But like I mentioned earlier, there are also people out there who believe that maybe Michael Jackson wasn't all that different from Diddy himself. Honestly, I'm still on the fence about it, but I'd really love to know what you think. So let's talk about it.